Go. There we go. Awesome. Good to be back. Good to be back. Nice to meet you all after a lot of weeks. I think at least a 2 weeks gap, but always a pleasure to be here on Smartlead Office Hours. Welcome, 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 beautiful people. Welcome to one more session of Smartlead Office Hours. My name is Akash, and I'm your customer success manager here at Smartlead. You all know the drill. Drop on the comments where you're from, the temperature at your city, and also let us know if you're an agency, a freelancer, or a SaaS company. We'd love to know. Minnesota, what's the temperature, boss? Again, for those of you who don't know, there's a chat button at the center bottom of your screen. Click on that, drop on the comments. Yep, there you see it coming. Barcelona, 31, Sai from Bangladesh, Philippines, White Bay, 24, 81 degrees. Texas. Bangalore is at a sweet 20. There we go. There we go. Global audience as always. Loving it. David Joseph from India. Love to know. Temperature does not matter. Too hot. I feel you, brother. Who is from Mars? I didn't know that. Awesome. But keep it rolling. Glad to have you all back. And for today's session, our guest of the day is Alexis Lacabane. And before I pass on the mic to him, a quick round of introduction. He is the co-founder of 1000Pieces. For those of you all who don't know 1000Pieces, they are a GTME agency built for ambitious scale-ups. They work with sales, marketing, and AE teams to design and implement an efficient yet scalable go-to-market engine. As a heads up, they don't just give you advice, they build these systems for you, right? And before I hand over the mic to him again, here's what you see. It's the big billion week for Smartlead. You guys know it's Smartlead's birthday month. We drop offers. We've been dropping offers since last week. But the reason why it's super hyped up this year is because of two things. One, we have limited number of drops. It's going to be live in 5 days. You will see hints coming up on your screen. And the second one is this is the biggest drop we ever made in Smartlead's history. So stay tuned. A lot of exciting things coming your way. But Alexis, over to you, sir. A quick round of introduction.
Thrilled to be here. Thank you so much, Akash, for making this happen. Thank you all for tuning in. Very happy to have this office hour with Smartlead today. So my name is Alexis. I'm a GTME, as we like to say, and co-founder of 1000Pieces. I will explain a little bit more about how we support B2B scale-ups with their growth. We do work with everything that is on the left side of the bow tie. So marketing, sales, RevOps, account executive. And yeah, I'll share more about that in a second, but really happy to be here. We got a lot of content to cover. So Akash, let me know when I can share my screen and get started.
Absolutely. Alexis has come prepared. He has a lot of actionable items that you guys can take away from this session. So that was his main criteria. He didn't want to just dump ideas. He's going to give you actionable insights that you can implement right after this call, right? So the whole theme of today is how B2B scale-ups combine Smartlead, Clay, and Heyreach to run outbound like a product team. That's what Alexis is going to show us. And outbound at scale isn't just about sending more emails. At this point, all of us can agree, right? It's about scoring your TAM, activating the right segments, and building reliable yet repeatable systems across email and LinkedIn. So, Alexis, over to you, sir. We're pumped to see your presentation and for your insights.
Thank you, Akash. So I couldn't agree more with what you just said. We have seen a lot of you guys using Smartlead, and I use Smartlead to, reach out to as many people as possible. But for a scale up, it's a little bit more complex than just spray and pray. So we have very different like workflows that we build for them. Let me share my screen. Just let me know if you guys can see the slides. It might be my
Yes,
face on
big and
it.
clear.
Yeah. All right, clear. So we operate within the Clay environment, within the Smartlead environment, the Heyreach environment. If you guys are unfamiliar with Clay, I suggest to take a look. As powerful for the tech sales stack as Smartlead is. Those are like the leading tools that scaleups are using. We work predominantly with like US companies, but also companies in Europe. But I've seen a lot of people from North America, Australia, Asia. So, you know, this can apply everywhere. So we work with the sales, the marketing, the RevOps teams, and we activate their TAM to turn it into pipeline. We work with, you can see some logos here, but it's, you know, it's kind of amazing for me to be on this office hour session because Smartlead is turning 3 years old. And I think I've been using Smartlead since the beginning. I want to give you guys a very good understanding of why scale-ups are using Smartlead to scale. And then we will go into Clay Heyreach as well. And I want to leave you guys with as many actionable insights as possible. So I will also share, if you guys stay for the whole session, please do. You will see how we use Smartlead to grow our scale-ups business from a email outreach perspective, but also LinkedIn outreach perspective. And I think that you guys will see something that you've never seen before, a use case of leveraging Smartlead to grow LinkedIn as well. So stay tuned. Now, if you think about like 3 years of Smartlead, I think for scale-ups, Smartlead is now associated with effective outbound because scale-ups, the scale-ups that we work with, fast-growing companies that are sometimes bootstrapped, sometimes VC-backed, they have a product market fit. They have a product market fit. They know how to address their market. They know their market. They know the pain that they need to address with their products or services. Now, our job is to ensure that we get the TAM, that we can expand the TAM, their total addressable market, that we can target, and we have all of the data points, like emails, for instance, to target the TAM, right? Deliverability, now we just hand it over to Smartlead. Originally, like 3 years ago, 2022, when I was building campaigns like email campaigns for clients, and at the time I was working more like targeting agencies, the tech stack for outbound was very fragmented. Like for instance, if you guys recognize this logo, then you know what I'm talking about. This is warm up inbox, for instance. Warm up inbox is like probably $20 to warm up an email in a warm up pool. Just one email is $20 a month. You can imagine how this is not scalable. It's just not scalable for massive businesses with massive TAM that know they have a PMF and just want deliverability. So just the warm up was the issue, and that's how I started using Smartlead at the time, because Smartlead was providing the sequencing system, so you could send out campaigns, right? And you could warm up as many mailboxes as you'd like. So this was the original value proposition that got me into using Smartlead, to be honest with you guys. And then if you guys recognize the other logos like Cloudflare, GoDaddy, whatever, you had to buy domains and you had to set up DNS records yourself, like the DKIM, the DMARC, the SPF. Anybody that is lost right now, good for you. Good for you. It means you never had to do it. So all of that had to be done manually, which was a really time-consuming effort, which hurted scalability, right? Obviously. So all of that has been addressed with Smartlead using the custom warm-up pool, for instance, or the smart senders, the smart servers, which basically allow you to build your email infra from scratch. Like you input your domain, and then boom, you are offered tons of similar domains that you can purchase with, I think, for less than $15, and then which is like perfect. And then you can warm up mailboxes under those domains, and you can even get your dedicated private servers with smart servers. So it's kind of it's game changing for scalability and deliverability. Not only we had to deal with that, which is already like was already a pain in the. I'm not going to finish that. We also had to deal with reporting, whenever like reply management, like whenever a lead response gets in, how do you know if it's positive or negative? You have to check yourself, right? So a lot of agencies had to offer SDR services on top of outbound to be able to say, okay, we'll have a guy who will take a look at your master inbox, which is also a very cool feature, to have all the replies centralized in one inbox. But basically, you had to do all of this, and it was not automated. Now, where I think Smartlead has been very smart, poor use of words, but building a very strong API documentation that you guys can leverage to build on top of any kind of automation, first and foremost. Like, quick example that we use the API, simple example, to get the disconnected accounts, for instance. Whenever you guys have emails that are in the warm-up pool that get disconnected for whatever reason, you can be flagged to your Slack, for instance, right? That's a simple use case. How to use the API documentation from Smartlead, which is one of the most detailed API documentation you'll find for a non-dev tool, for a sales tool. And with a simple automation tool like Make, N8N, whatever, you can combine that you can flag that to your Slack, for instance. But we had to do everything like reporting wise, you had to do in Airtable, was extremely time consuming as well. You had to know no code tools like Airtable, that kind of stuff. Now, I think that I'm sure, very recently, we had access to it for quite some time with the beta, but Smartlead has also released a CRM feature, which allows you to see your pipeline and manage it, which is also extremely helpful if you guys run campaigns on Smartlead at scale for different customers, for agency, or for your own business. This is extremely powerful. And then AI categorization is, for me, game changing. Like having a reply come in, and then the AI automatically reads that response and tells you, okay, it's an interested lead or not interested. And we'll see that later on when I show you guys how we set up campaigns in Smartlead. If you stay for the whole session, you'll see that what kind of settings we put in. You'll see we also manage out of the office replies, and the AI of Smartlead is actually really well done. You got to take that. Um, Now, this fragmented outbound stack was not supporting an effective outbound engine, which now we solved with dealing with companies like Orb, for instance, is a B2B billing and pricing company based in San Francisco. You can't do more cliche than that. So it's a scale up, and they care about having an effective outbound system for obvious reasons. And they use Smartlead as part of their stack because they understand that they need to maintain full deliverability. Whatever you do, just to be clear, whatever you do before deliverability, like PMF and TAM, it's completely pointless if you don't land in the inbox. I mean, it's kind of obvious to say it, but the obvious is essential. So when we talk about our job in terms of the TAM expansion, this is what it looks like if you like processes or if you're an engineer. If you like little steps and guidelines, this is exactly how we work. So TAM expansion for B2B scaleups is all about moving from, I don't know, you have 200 accounts in your CRM and you want to go to 20,000, right? Um, this this intention of expanding the TAM is completely related to what I've just presented you guys with, which is how to build, this effective outbound engine. We need to grow the TAM, and to do that, we start with lead scraping workflows. We need to look for more accounts. It can come from website visitors. If you guys are familiar with like RB2B vector, actually, Clay has also announced that they're going to launch a a new feature to cover that as well. It's going to be native to Clay. But basically, we can look at US website visitors. We can look at recently hired job titles of your persona that you guys care about, or social media content. More and more agencies and companies like scaleups are leveraging their own content to retarget people that engage with their content, right? So this is a very common workflow that we see everywhere and we implement for every customer. So you can think of this as like, I don't know, if you pay an influencer to talk about something outside of their company, like on social media platforms, then everybody that engages with this content, there might be in there some qualified ideal customers, right? And so you want to target those guys. And if you want to do this at scale, let's say that you're a massive scale up and you have tons of ads and influencers and whatnot, you can do it with email, right? Because the power of Smartlead is that it enables you to, since now you can build your email infrastructure from scratch, you can go from 1 to 10 in no time, right? For a fraction of the cost of what it would cost you before, when you had to set up DNS records yourself or warm up your pool with tools that were extremely expensive. So wherever we feed our qualification table, basically we get those companies pushed to a qualification stage where this is where I will present to you guys the scoring and tiering systems that we put in place for our customers. This is done, everything here is done within the Clay ecosystem. So here we qualify the business because not everybody is a qualified customer, right? The spray and pray approach does not work for companies that might target like mid-market enterprise. You can't target everybody. Not everybody is your customer, and you're wasting resources, even Smartlead money, on the wrong people, right? So you want to qualify those guys. Once they're qualified, they move to the TAM table, where we're going to enrich the accounts. The TAM table, the total addressable market table. We keep all of the accounts. And then what we've built is we built within Clay a virtual cycle of lookalike, where we look for similar companies to feedback that TAM. And so the TAM starts to expand from lead scraping workflows and lookalike searches. If you guys are not familiar with lookalike, we can cover that in the Q&A, but we're basically looking for, using an algo, we're looking for similar companies to your current TAM. And then we look for the ICPs, the right personas that you want to target, like VP of engineering or CEOs or whatnot. And then we enrich those guys using Clay, which has access to, think about Clay as like a data aggregator, just like Airbnb or Booking or whatever. They do this, but with data providers. And then once we have enriched for work emails, the ones that have a valid debounce work email, please debounce your emails. As you all know, this is affecting a lot your email deliverability. Not everything is to blame on the infrastructure. Sometimes it's just that people forget to debounce. If you guys are some of you are not necessarily familiar with how debouncers do their job, you can just think of, if you go on your Google and you type your Google email, if it moves to the next page when you click next, then this is one way to debounce an email. Just one way. It's just an example. So if you move to the next page, it means that the email exists somehow, somewhere, someone is using it, right? If the email is valid, we're pushing directly from Clay to Smartlead. Smartlead, again, has a very good documented API, which integrates perfectly with Clay. They have a native integration with Smartlead. You can push leads, you can remove leads from campaign, you can update leads with new, fresh info. And this has been extremely helpful, connecting all the tool stack together. And then obviously we, enrich the CRM with all of that information, like work emails, blah, blah, blah. We push to that campaign in Smartlead, et cetera, right? think I'm going to take a break right here. I don't know, Kash, if you have any questions in the chat regarding this before I move on to the scoring system.
Right. Nothing as of now, Alexis, but I had a quick question, right? So when you say debounce, are you referring to validation or is it something different from that?
Yeah, validation, absolutely.
Got it.
So we have a bunch of providers. There's a bunch of providers. I'm sure
Mhm.
everybody on the call is like quite familiar with some of them. You also need to know that if I can just give like two examples, like Zero Bounce, Enrichly. I
Yeah.
like Enrichly personally
Right.
a lot. There's also Smartlead has implemented a global block list, not a block list, I should say a bounce list or debounce list that basically can be triggered within Clay. So when you push someone to a Smartlead campaign, you can toggle on a setting to ensure that you're pushing the lead, but it needs to be checked against
Your
Smartlead
block list,
global, yeah,
block list. True.
block
And
list.
just
Okay.
one common question I get on a daily basis, Alexis. I want your insights on this. One, is it actually necessary to double verify your email addresses? Two, is it a best practice to reach out only to valid emails, at least when you start off with? Because I see a couple of people who reach out to catch all and valid emails in the beginning, and they tend to
Yeah.
get a high bounce percentage. So, what would be your recommendation here?
Yeah, I think like if any recommendation needs to be made, it needs to be made with like data. Honestly,
Right.
every time we didn't debounce because we wanted to test out like the catch-all, for instance, we
Hmm.
had like 10x difference in terms of the bounce rate.
Right.
So from like 3%, which is perfect. I mean, less than 5% is really good.
Right.
We could have up to 20% bounce rate. So like it also depends on your target list. Like for big companies, for instance, you tend to have always the same kind of structure in the email. So catch-alls tend to be more reliable.
True.
But I really don't recommend doing that. If you're starting at this, if you build a new email infrastructure in Smartlead with smart senders, and you got your like 30 mailboxes that you warmed up for like 2-3 weeks, and then you put garbage in your campaign and you end up with a bounce rate that hurts deliverability and everything that you did so far. So I don't recommend doing that with new infrastructures for sure.
Understood.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And one
Yeah.
question from the chat. So, to kind of execute your workflow here with Clay, what version of Clay do you need?
That's a good question. Pro Plan is like my go-to. I'll say I'll give you guys two reasons why. First of all, you have the CRM integrations that you might certainly need. If you don't, good for you,
Right.
or not necessarily, because if you don't have a CRM, that could cause an issue at some point. But CRM integrations are extremely valuable. I would also say that the integrations with Smartlead and Heyreach can become limited without the Pro Plan. And also, I would say that the Pro Plan has like 50,000 credits, which is what you will need if you have I would say, a significant TAM. Significant meaning like, except if you target like mining companies in Australia, then maybe you have like, I don't know, 3,000, 10,000 accounts to cover. Then yeah, definitely Pro Plan would be the go-to.
Understood. And do you know if the ProPlan and Clay integrates with Go High Level?
That's a good question. I don't have the answer. Prefer not to answer. I
Clay
need
team
to
is your
check.
answer. Clay
Yeah,
team is the answer. Talk to Clay. Check their
support,
website. You'll get the answer for that.
support.
Support
Yeah,
them.
absolutely, absolutely. But just
Okay,
note
good.
that they have HTTP requests that you can make to any tool. So if it's not covered like specifically, I think HTTP requests are in the Pro Plan as well. So that's your answer. There you go. Saved my.
That is awesome. Perfect.
All right.
And one last thing before we move on to the next one, Alexis. I think people might, I have one on the chat. People might still be confused about the difference between debounce and email validation. So is it
Mm.
the same or are there two different things?
And I'm not pretending to become an expert at debouncing. I don't work for Zero Bounce, just to be clear, or Enrichly. But for me, and be aware that in Clay, everything has been simplified for you guys. You just have to toggle on or toggle off something. Um, you have basically a distinction between a valid email. So the debouncer, the data provider considers that this email, we can deliver an email to it. And a catch-all or a guest email would be emails that, they're not validated to the extent that they know it's going to be delivered. And like, I don't know if you work for a big company like Coca-Cola and the domain is
Mhm.
coca-cola.com and your name is Alexis Lacabane, I can guess the email is alexis.lacabane@coca-cola.com. That does not mean that it's completely validated. So for me, I would say
True.
go with validated, 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 validated emails
Understood.
and not
Understood.
catch-all.
Got it. Thank you so much. Any thoughts on million verifier?
Yeah, I like it. I like it. I don't like to make myself enemies, so I like it.
Awesome. Awesome.
No, no, it's
Perfect.
good.
Over to you, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we talked like in this flow. Obviously, you have to, you might care about a company having a certain certification, or a company having like governmental or public contracts, or a company having like events around employee well-being, or a company recruiting for a certain title, whatever. So all of that scoring tiering system, because when you have a TAM of 2 million accounts, maybe 200K are tier one accounts based on certain criteria. And so I simplify the conversation here on purpose because it's not the whole, we could spend 2 hours on this. But basically, the account scoring and tiering systems that we build for our clients is unique for each client because each client has their own criteria. Everything is run in Clay, but we are feeding from as many sources as required. For instance, and I just wanted to give you guys kind of a sense of what it would look like. LinkedIn ads, if you guys have ever run LinkedIn advertising campaigns, you know that you can have like a very high, medium, or low engagement on each account that you can export from LinkedIn ads, and you can use that as one metric, right? Koala, 6sense, so many have intent data, engagement KPIs, firmographics, and help you build scores and grades and whatever at account level. And then there's something extremely powerful in Clay, which is called the Clayagents, basically a combination of AI plus web scraping that allows you to kind of answer any questions. So if you guys, as an agency or as a business, are thinking about positioning yourself around ABM selling, like account-based selling, and you want to do it account-based marketing, and you're focused at account level because you do B2B, then there are a lot of questions that data providers cannot answer for you. Like, you know, what's the certification for that business? Do they have ISO compliance for whatnot? Are they running events around employee well-being, as I said, or any other example? Like, what's their safety protocols for their mining business? All of those questions can be customized, prompted to be shown in like your report, your scoring system, your CRM. And this is exactly how we use this AI plus web scraping capacity to build that custom tiering system and say, oh, this is a tier one account because it has ISO whatever. I'm not going to pretend like I know all the ISO certifications that are basically pushed into Clay. And from there, we just build the formula. We don't, I mean, we just build it, but we don't strategize on it. It's our client who tells us what the account scoring system should be. From 1 to 10, actually it goes to 11 here, I think, but that's fine. 1 to 10, and then we push that back to the CRM. And now what you guys need to understand is like we have the ability to fetch from the CRM within Clay and say, okay, we're going to activate this account, push to Smartlead, and reach out to personas because it's an SMB account and the account score is between 6 and 9, for instance. That you cannot do when you don't put in place the scoring and tiering system. So it's kind of essential to a lot of teams, as I said, we work with sales, marketing, and RevOps. So they have certain priorities, like they don't want to target enterprise accounts, for instance, or they want to target SMBs, but they don't want to target SMBs that have low engagement, that don't know who the brand is. They want to focus
Right.
on like the 6 to 9 or 6 to 10, right? So far, so good. All right. So I wanted to, this aligns in like, now that we have qualified, we have expanded the TAM, we go and activate on what was requested, right? And this is where we use the three, I would say, for me, the go-to for Outbound Engine. Clay is helping with everything I just presented around the scoring and qualification and expansion. Smartlead is helping us scale the number of leads we can touch. This is for like 2 months and a half, 2 months and a half, like 150K leads, the reply rate, the positive rate. We always aim for 1%, but I'll play the humble card here. So, we try to push at scale, and then we have an intention to increase that number reply rate, which could be done by focusing on a certain tier or whatnot, reducing the bounce rate here as well to go closer to like 3% than 10%. And this has been for us extremely powerful because we can now focus only on the TAM, because the PMF is their problem, right? It's you guys, it's your problem, right? The PMF is not something that we can validate. We cannot invent the market. The TAM is where we can focus, and Smartlead helps us with deliverability, providing all the engagement metrics we need to showcase that we're reaching out to that TAM at scale, and turn that into positive replies and pipeline and meetings and deals and whatnot, right? But then from there on, it's not our responsibility anymore. So this is what it looks like in I would say from PMF to activation or time to pipeline. Now we also leverage LinkedIn with Heyreach, and I'll tell you why. Because in certain workflows, LinkedIn can become just the evidence. Because let's say you have people that engage on your content on LinkedIn, you might want to reach out to them on the same platform, for instance, as simple as that. In some other industries, people don't have like a digital, they have like a pretty non-existent digital footprint. So we use Smartlead. Like for instance, like medical sector, there's a lot of people that are not, like healthcare in the US, for instance, very difficult to target. We use Smartlead only. We don't do LinkedIn because people are just not, doctors are just not hanging out on LinkedIn and commenting what whatever or Mosey is posting. So we leverage the channel also based on where it makes sense. And then when we don't have a valid email, that's why we spend a little minute on validation. And I think it's important. Whenever there's no valid email, we go to LinkedIn, right? Because we don't want to throw a lead down the garbage. That just does not make sense to us and to the client, right? So there's one limitation, obviously, with LinkedIn that everybody's aware of, which is the number of invitations you can send per day, right? And I wanted to show you guys, but maybe we'll check if nobody has questions before we move on to that. I want to show you guys how we set up a Smartlead campaign ourselves to farm for LinkedIn profiles for our clients. By farming, I mean that we're looking for people that would be open to rent their LinkedIn profiles to some of our customers so they can increase the number of the outreach system that they have on LinkedIn, right? Because the more people you have on your LinkedIn, the more invitations you can send, right? As simple as that. If that sounds insightful, then we're going to jump into it. If you have any questions, just let me know. Let us know in the chat.
The one golden question of cold emailing, right? Which is, do you track opens and clicks or do you not? Is the question.
Hey, the golden question. So I don't know if anyone was at the office hour 2 weeks ago, but I will quote Namit, who said something like don't. Simple as that. So I don't track open rates. I don't track click rates. I'll show you that show you guys in the settings. we don't track open rates and click rates because I've been tracking it for the first year of using Smartlead, I'll be honest. And I've seen that everything that Smartlead has been doing for deliverability has been effective and we're getting responses. So I don't need the vanity metric. I don't need to know that 70% of emails are opened, because you need to understand that in most cases, we are using a little pixel to put in an email, and that hurts deliverability. So I don't want to risk it, and I prefer to turn it off because I don't need it to confirm anything. Right? We know that we deliver and we get results by the reply rate, which is enough for what we got to do. We're not a marketing team. Say that.
Understood. Awesome. Thank you for that.
All right. So let me jump into an example of campaigns that we set up on Smartlead. I have set up those campaigns 7 days ago, so a week ago, just for you guys. That's a lie. I also did it for a client, but I wanted to show you guys some of the results. So you can see here that those campaigns were created on the 10th of July. We're the 17th, so not lying. And we are pushing to get in Spanish and in English 2 sequences to get people to connect with us, engage, potentially join our clients to become a added LinkedIn profile to their sequences. And so we have currently like between 0.7 and 1% reply rate, and we have a 60 to 77% positive reply rate, which is obviously what we care about. We also want to look at the bounce rate to see if we are at risk on our infrastructure. And there's one thing that I always recommend you guys to do, everybody, that especially agencies that want to double down on the money that they spent on getting those leads into campaigns, is to basically retarget the same people. So there's a very simple way to do that in Smartlead. If you actually go to your campaign and you navigate to your lead list and you go to filters, you go with lead has completed, lead category is not assigned. This is 846 people that you can basically export as a CSV, delete after you saved your export, and then put back into your campaign. I wouldn't necessarily do it like 7 days after launching the campaign because that's a short time frame. But we do this every 3 to 6 weeks, depending on the client, depending on the target list, depending on the context in the offer. But this simple retargeting, I know some people don't like the term retargeting because it sounds like we're running ads or something like that, but it just means like recycling, right? Recycling leads, because we all know, you guys know, that nobody cares about your emails, right? In most instances, it's sad to say, but it's true. So nobody remembers. And if nobody remembers, you can just try again 3 weeks later. That's perfectly fine, right? And that we use for, obviously, for all campaigns or clients across the board, any kind of offer. So that's for this campaign, this particular campaign. I wanted to show you guys actionable insights as well. If you have some campaigns that are currently running, I wanted to show the settings that we're using for our clients and for ourselves. You will notice that we have, in terms of sending limits, I have warmed up this system for over 4 weeks. So I allow myself to go as high as 30 emails per day, per sender account. This is not necessarily something I suggest to do if you have a quick warm up of 2 weeks and you want to go live. Go probably with 15 or 20 tops, and then obviously you need to align that with the number. That number here needs to be aligned with the number of mailboxes that you have in your stack, right? In terms of the most interesting settings for me, that answers your question. We don't track opens, we don't track clicks. We force plain text because we don't see the value. We're not doing marketing newsletter. We are just pushing out a message, want to bring in a conversational manner. So we don't care about HTML. We don't care. We just want plain text, right? This is my go-to. I don't see necessarily the point of that. I think it's more for marketing purposes. I have a smart server. Can only recommend you guys to use that as well. One for you. There are some recommendations from Smartlead, so I'll let you guys go with the recommendation because they know what they're doing. But I have a smart server for, for all of my campaigns. Probably like 10 campaigns. That's enough for what I'm doing. The sending pattern is basically how many, like, do you want to do a 50% of new leads that you outreach to every day and 50% of your email capacity is used for follow-ups, or you want to do a different mix, 100% new leads, for instance, until you have exhausted the number of new leads that you can touch, then it will start running follow-ups. Here in this instance, I want to get as many people going as possible. And I know that they're very responsive to follow-ups. If you guys know that your audience is very responsive to follow-ups, I recommend to do little follow-up. That might sound counterintuitive, but it's not. Little follow-ups, you go through your whole list, like let's say you have 5,000 people and you do 500 a day. You go through that and then you will do the follow-up and you will see a spike in your, because if you do a follow-up every day, it just doesn't make sense, right? So if it takes a little bit of time to go through all of your new leads and you can wait a little to go with the follow-ups, then it just makes perfect sense and you'll see a spike in your engagement for sure. I mean, that's what we've seen. I don't necessarily need to do a Gmail to Gmail. So if you guys have been, and Akash, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I was listening. I was not sleeping on the office hour 2 weeks ago. I think Namitz mentioned that this past 3-4 months, Outlook mailboxes have been terrible in terms of deliverability. So
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. I don't want to, I'm not telling you guys what to do, but personally, I'm not investing my money into that right now. Prefer to go with Gmail. Google is king. So I'm not using that. Simple. AI categorization, game changer, so many hours saved here. I just love this feature because we have an intelligent categorization. So out of the office is also flagged, and forget about this guy because I think they're going to delete it. But this guy here is just reading the reply, and if you say like, "Hey, going on holiday for like 3 weeks," I don't know who does that, but in my country, France probably, but 3 weeks, and then I'm coming back on the 7th of September. Then the AI will use that, or I think it's played by default, so it will put a default delay, basically to repush the lead into the campaign. So this is so convenient. So we don't have to do it, obviously, and our clients don't have to do it, and the operator, like the sales rep, does not have to do it. And obviously, you want to ignore the auto reply from the reply percentage because I don't see, except if you like to boost your results, but we don't recommend you guys to do that. Everything gets known at some point. Interested, not interested, very, very, very powerful. If you guys don't know, you can go to your settings and you have webhooks, and you can put that in place where your webhook is pushing to your Slack. Very convenient. Everything is done through Smartlead. Sorry, that happens. You can set up your webhook and then push your interested leads or non-interested leads or whatever to your Slack directly. Very convenient, very easy to do from there. Any questions so far? Yeah.
Quick questions, Alex. I've been on the chat for a couple of minutes, and quick questions for you. One, after 14 days of warm up, do you continue only with your campaigns, or do you still continue your email warm ups? How do you currently do it?
Yeah, always keep the warm up active.
Understood.
Yeah, first of all, like, it doesn't cost anything, right? So guys, leverage it. But also, I mean, compared to warm up inbox, And yeah, I would always recommend to keep it. You can reduce it a little bit, like by 5 emails or so. But I strongly recommend to keep it. And I can get into the details of how we set up a warm up if anyone's interested.
Understood. Because that was a follow-up question, right? So what kind of ratio do you currently have? Do you have it a 1:1, 2:1, or 3:1, or what is your
Yep.
setup like?
Yeah, let's go into that. I don't think it will show my credit card details, so I think I can show you guys that. If it does, please allow me 5 minutes after this call. So we currently have the daily ramp up, which I strongly suggest to use. There's also a randomizer, which allows you to kind of select what's the range that you would like to see the variation of a warm up. You have this very nice overview from uh, from Smartlead here. You can see the number of emails that were sent. This is for warm up, huh? This is not what you are sending, but you can see the ratio, right, of send versus replied. For my So those guys have been warmed up for 4 to 5 weeks. So this is it's a significant time for warm up. So I have decreased the reply rate, but initially, when you do your 14 days warm up, I personally like to do over 70% reply rate because the warm up is a very logical thing. We're just trying to create like credibility for the ESP, right? Which human receives email and don't care? Like truly. I mean, okay, some of you might be like that. I'm like I'm a freak with my mailbox. Like I don't have anything that is not opened. But like reply rate that you can play with, I strongly recommend to put it very high when you do 2 weeks warm up. If you do a longer time, it's fine to reduce it at some point. So this is how I set up my warm up. You also have the number of emails. I try to stick to between 20 and 30, which is pretty much like my sending pattern for how many actual emails I'm using for on a daily basis on an email account. And then this is a beauty. So it might sound very easy, like very simple idea, but at the time in 2022, when you were putting a mailbox into warm up inbox, you could not send. So can you imagine like the some mailboxes were like skyrocketing on a Sunday? Like which human actually likes to send more? Like the peak in his week is like on Sundays. I mean, maybe super busy CEOs. I should be more busy, I guess. But like we're not. This is not necessarily does not make sense to us. So we like to keep it during weekdays. So I always enable this up and the custom domain tracking link, obviously. I hope that answers some of your questions. I'm going to stop
Absolutely.
sharing.
Absolutely. Covered everything. Speaking one more question, latest question from the chat. Alexis, when there is engagement, do you move conversations to your primary email? I created a Zapier that moves leads that are interested to my pipe drive. I've noticed, however, the ones I've tested this in do not respond. Maybe it's a change in email to .biz, etc. Was that clear? Did that make sense?
I think. I hope I will answer that one correctly. Yeah, go ahead,
The
Akash,
first
if you want to add.
the first part of it was right. You kind of,
Yeah,
I personally don't need it because Smartlead's master inbox, I can manage conversations from all these mailboxes, right?
yeah.
And there's also, if you're kind of adding a reply to address, that might kind of trigger automation if you're doing it for a bunch of inboxes. But what are your thoughts, Alexis?
I really like the master inbox as it's built. I could also show you guys, but I'm gonna stop sharing for now. We build templates within the master inbox to help with the replies. Um, so I really like the master inbox as it is. And also when you deal with like one of our customer ISG partners is a recruiting firm for scaleups, and they have 500 mailboxes on Smartlead.
Right.
Like you don't want to auto forward anything here because it's going to start becoming like such a it might become a monster you don't want to create, right? So I like to keep
True.
Frankenstein in the box, and we use Smartlead for with the master inbox. I think a quick tutorial, if you're an agency, I don't know if it's an agency who's asking this, always good to do like a quick loom to explain to your clients, like, this is how you should use it. There are templates, you can mark it unread, you can build some views. I think it's really important to educate some of the customers that want to, take over some of the legwork.
Understood. Do you recommend external warm-up tools, Mailreach or Wormy, or native Smartlead warm-up is good? What are your thoughts?
I'm a go for the native from Smartlead. Honestly, if you look at the numbers, I don't like talking about too many about the other tools out there. But if you look at like the competitors, and if you look at Warm Up Inbox, for instance, look at the size of their pool for emails that are real emails, but it's the same thing as Smartlead. You'll see that the size of the pool is not the issue anymore. And I think you have to go with what's working for so many people, and I'm proof that Smartlead is enough for that.
Awesome. And folks, we're at that time of the session, so I'd let you all ask your questions directly to Alexis. I know the chat is blasting up, but you guys know how to do it. React on the center bottom, click on the button, raise your hand, turn on your video. I'll spotlight you. You can ask your questions directly to Alexis. Again, react on the bottom center, raise your hand, turn on your video, and I'll spotlight you. There we go. Erin is the first one. Erin, if you can turn on your video, I'll spotlight you. If not, you can unmute and go for it. Erin, are you there? Yeah. Can you unmute?
Okay.
Oh.
There, is it working?
Yep.
Within Clay, can you, right, so we have a client that wants to target people interested in Bitcoin. Can you scrape out, so X lead is talking about, has been posting about Bitcoin, and now let's pull them, and would you use Clay to do that and then pull them into Smartlead to add them to the email?
I can go with the answer. Yeah. Thank you, Aaron. Yeah, it's a great question. I would take it from a different angle. I'm not trying to evade your question. I understand completely what you're trying to achieve. I would take some of the biggest Bitcoin platforms that post a lot on LinkedIn, and I would scrape the interactions, which you can do from Clay using interactions from posts. And you can also scrape the posts from the Bitcoin platforms using scrape professional posts. And you can use those two together to get the interactors, so the LinkedIn profiles that interact with the content from those Bitcoin platforms, and say like, hey, I noticed. And you can even analyze the comments. So if they say like, oh, I would be super interested in investing like my whole family house into Bitcoin, you can contact them and let them know that you get something for their need. Yeah. Does that answer,
Okay, that
Aaron?
makes
I hope.
sense. That does. And then right now we just manually pull lists from HubSpot into Smartlead. Am I missing some kind of API integration where if they cross a scoring threshold or whatever, they can just automatically go into the campaign because it can't be this manual?
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. So if you have HubSpot and you have a trigger into your HubSpot, whatever the trigger is, like they reached that score, or they're doing that, they downloaded my ebook, or I'm trying to also open the answer to everybody on the chat who might be interested in having that. You can set it up directly into push to a webhook within your Clay ecosystem. So your Clay table would be able to create a Clay table from a webhook, and whenever that happens, like you have a lead in your HubSpot that reaches a threshold, it would be pushed to Clay. In Clay, you enrich that guy for his work email, and then you push it directly into Smartlead, and all of this is beautifully automated thanks to the API of Smartlead and the
Nice.
integration
Okay.
with Clay.
Wonderful. Thank you.
And if you make money with Bitcoins, please let me know that I participated. Akash, you're on mute, I think.
My bad. I was laughing for a joke. And Alex, next up is you. I'm going to turn on your spotlight. There you go. There you go. Can you unmute yourself?
Hello, everyone. Hi, Alexis. Hi, Akash. Thanks a lot, Alexis, for sharing this wealth of knowledge. Very insightful. And I'm kind of happy, actually, because I'm doing 60% of what you're doing for an industrial B2B lead gen agency. So I have a question. In the past, I've used Lemlist as an outreach tool. I did like it because back then I was targeting, I was doing your like combo. If the lead doesn't have a valid email, then I target him on LinkedIn. I've been a big fan of Lemlist for a long time because it allows you to do multi-channel outreach. Now they have WhatsApp, I guess. I've been on Smartlead for a while now, quite happy with it. Wanted to ask you, Alexis, if you, because you've mentioned earlier on in the conversation that you use um Smartlead in combination with LinkedIn outreach. Do you use that through Clay or I mean, you build something in an external integration? Thanks.
Thank you, Alex. Lovely name. Um,
Obviously.
so obviously, so Clay has a native integration with both Smartlead and Heyreach, which makes it also like, which gives Heyreach an edge, right, compared to other solutions because they're integrated into a stack, into a tool stack that we absolutely need, which is Clay. So they have those native integrations directly in Clay. We use Heyreach for LinkedIn outreach also because it's a very powerful solution. We were using Walaxy before, and the problem with some of the solutions out there for LinkedIn outreach is you can't push custom fields. So if you do your own, if I hyper personalize, we do a lot of hyper personalization. Like, hey Alex, saw you engage with the webinar from Smartlead tomorrow. Don't worry, I'm not going to spam you guys. This is just a joke. But basically, if I do that in my LinkedIn outreach, I can't push it to Walaxy, for instance, because Walaxy does not offer custom fields, which obviously Heyreach does and Smartlead does as well. No need to clarify.
Oh yeah, thanks. That was clear. But my question was, I mean, um, how can I sync them together? Is there a tool that has that? Like for instance, to mimic what Lemlist does, because I don't want to be on two platforms. Like I don't want to be running a campaign on Smartlead and on Lemlist at the same time, so that I build the LinkedIn step externally, email. Email Smartlead, then view profile on Lemlist. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
this is what more my question.
Yeah, okay. So thanks for clarifying. So Lemlist, the issue with Lemlist is scalability, like having more, like having a massive infrastructure running on it, which is why like it's very convenient for a lot of small teams, but very difficult to run at scale. I would say that you would still need to do something custom using N8N probably. What we do on our end is whenever someone finishes up a smart lead campaign, we use the API, which again is very well documented. Whenever a lead completes and has not been assigned, which I showed you guys when I did the retargeting,
Yeah.
we actually have a webhook triggered, and the guy is pushed directly into Heyreach campaign, and then the Heyreach campaign can start with view profile and then connect and then follow up and
Makes
whatnot.
sense. Oh, right.
Yeah,
So you kind of space it. You give the lead some space if
exactly.
it didn't work
Which,
on email.
yeah, which sometimes is good, right?
All right. No, thanks. That was clear. Thank you, Alexis.
Awesome. Thank you,
Pleasure.
Alex.
Thanks, Akash.
There you go. Next up is Daniel. Quickly spotlighting you. Can you also unmute yourself?
Hey
Perfect.
guys, short and sweet one. So I was the one that put up the confusing question about when to move a lead from Smartlead into CRM. And the reason I asked that is, of course, you're then engaging with them with a primary kind of email address that has a .com. I don't know if they noticed that or not, but what I found is in a small campaign that I did, I moved every single lead with the Zapier automation into Pipedrive, and weirdly, none of them replied. And I can't help but wonder if that was because all of a sudden a new email thread is happening from, a different email address. Just wanted to know what your thoughts are on best practice to move from Smartlead into the CRM. When should that happen?
Yeah, thank you, Daniel, for that question. No, I think it clarifies a lot. So there's like for me, what's really a problem is when I want to take over the conversation to, like, let's say my email, which I'm not going to share right now, but for obvious reasons, you sucked. Your office hours was terrible. So we basically have a like a generic sales email, right? For instance, if you have never used it to outreach to people, then it should deliver in the inbox, right? The issue that I see a lot is that people spammed 1,000 people on one day, which obviously does this for an ESP. It's a spike, and so they consider you phishing people. So basically, that will never get into his inbox. If you've seen that with your case, and you know that you might have used that email to connect with people from Salesforce or HubSpot, and the deliverability is hurt, then maybe you need to use another mailbox. That I'm not sure, and I don't know. But if your issue is you're certain that your email should deliver and is not, and you push your lead into the CRM, my recommendation is always to keep things as much as possible from master inbox in Smartlead. You can say, hey, Daniel, can we continue that conversation with my other email that I just CC'd? And I like to CC the email directly into the reply, so I can take over from mine, which will not create a new thread, will be under the same thread. I hope that answers your question, Daniel.
Awesome. Thank you, Daniel. Alexis, that's all the questions we had. Those are all the hands were raised. Anything else before we wind up the session, sir? Admin, I have a question. There's one on chat. Give me a minute. I'm sorry about that.
No worries.
Admin,
I have a question.
Yeah, go for it. Grant is there. Admin, I'm waiting for your question. Are you going to post it, or do you have your hands raised? No, you don't have your hands raised. Okay. So question is, yeah, it's a different question though. How do I raise my hand? Center bottom, react, raise your hand, turn on your video, and I'll spotlight you. There you go.
Right. Yeah. So my question is actually recently I had started a campaign. So till now, to be honest, I've been using instantly.ai, but I recently switched to
Good move.
Smartlead. But there was one very big disappointment for me. I love everything about Smartlead. There was just one feature which took me back. So I have set up a campaign.
Okay.
So I represent two companies,
Right.
They're both connected. So they both have different locations. They both have different company names. They both have different emails, everything.
Got it.
So I had set up a signature for all. So I started for the technology related company. I started an email campaign. Around to 4 or 5 email campaigns I started. And I set my default signature for all those email addresses that I created, for those campaigns.
Okay.
Then for the next company, I started another campaign. And you don't have the option to disable your signature from being sent out, which I think is a big demerit. I may not want my signature of my company, which I first sent, which by default to be sent out, right? It shouldn't be, you only have the option where you want to place your signature. You don't have the option if you don't want to send your signature at all. So now how do I send campaigns for different companies when they both have different signatures?
Right. One, I'll take this as a feature request, but I'll tell you something that's been working out for me, right? So what I do in these cases, for example, you have company A and company B, right? So for company A mailboxes, don't set up the signature, use it on your campaign copy if you're using only one mailbox, or create multiple campaigns, assign different mailboxes. For example, I have Akash's mailbox and Alex's mailbox. I have one campaign only with Akash's mailboxes, one campaign only with Alex's mailboxes, and I add the signature inline the copy. Or you can go for the simple signature, because the reason what I'm thinking about is when you have the signature set up the right way for each of the mailboxes, you would essentially want them to know that you're sending the email, right? So it's going to be either inline or through your mailbox. So either differentiate it the right way through your mailbox, or you can simply disable that, go for an inline signature, and that should work for you for the time being.
Well,
But again,
Akash,
point noted.
yeah. when I send the emails, those guys, the receiver anyway knows it's a mass email. When they look at the extension itself, they'll understand the email address is actually a mass email. That
They
they figure
shouldn't
it
know
out.
that. That's the whole, I would debate you on that, because that's the
No,
whole point
because
of,
no, it's not
yeah.
based on the content of the email. I'm saying when they look at the email extension related to the actual domain of my company, they know that it's that domain is being used for mass email, right? That they'll understand.
No, like not really, right? Because that's the whole point of what we're doing at cold emailing. I think maybe we need to have a conversation. Shoot me an email. It's akash@smarty.ai. We'll happy to
Right.
hop on a
Yeah.
call
But
and
what I'm saying
have
is,
a discussion regarding that. Yeah.
even if that can be done, and let's say they don't know it's a mass email, when I have set up like 50, 5, like 10 domains and total 50 email addresses, uh, I want to handle all the different email campaigns. And what you said makes sense, is set aside certain emails only for a certain company. But the second company, which deals with law mainly, I'm not going to be sending frequent emails. So I don't want to keep some, keep some domains simply hanging
No,
till
I think,
come.
yeah, absolutely, because this is a new one, right? Because
So
I think I need to look at your
it'll make
setup.
more,
I need to
yeah, no,
look at
it'll
your
make more
setup for
sense.
this.
No, I think it'll make more sense if they just have you. They don't by default send
Gentle,
out your signature.
I'm going to stop you right there, sir. So sorry about it. Respectful of everyone's time. This is a conversation for us to have. Drop me an email. It's akash@smarty.ai. More
Sure.
than happy to hop on a call with you and discuss
Yeah.
this. But
That
again,
makes sense.
yeah, let's do that. Yeah. All
Sure.
right.
Thanks. Yep.
Yes. Thank you. Awesome. That's all we had. Alexis, anything before you go, sir?
No, thank you. Thank you so much for all of your time. I know you guys are super busy, so really appreciate it. Thank you, Akash, for everything, and the team for supporting that session. Cheers, guys.
100%. Thank you so much for your valuable insights. Most of them are actionable. I think 100% is actionable, and that's the best part about it. And people, you saw the background. It's Smartlead's Big Billion Week. For those of y'all who are late, this is the biggest drop ever. And we're going to have limited drops, limited seats, and it's going to be in the next 5 days. So you should see hints coming in every day. But until then, thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you so much, Alexis. I'll see you on the next session. Until then, 3 consistent things in life: death, taxes, and office hours every Thursday. See you all on the next one. Ciao. Bye-bye.